Well, this is it. The moment you've all been waiting for. The only boss that anyone talks about, or frankly, remembers from Lies of P's Overture DLC. If you saw any media at all related to this expansion, it was probably either someone raving about how 10 out of 10 this boss is, or someone flexing their difficulty 5 no-hit victory. That's right, it's Arlecchino, the Blood Artist. While there is some merit to this hype, I feel the need to ground some of that unbridled euphoria around this boss back in reality. In this video, we'll talk about that, and I'll give my rating on this boss's overall quality and difficulty. Firstly, while I don't normally really comment on story, part of the reason this boss is so praised is because the DLC does a great job of building up to this final confrontation. You're quickly introduced to the characters Leah and Romeo when you encounter this dying NPC near the beginning of your journey into Krat Zoo.
Madam Stalker, is it you? You've come back.
This note he hands you tells you that Romeo and Leah are both stalkers, and that Romeo is missing, and Leah is searching for him. I don't want this to turn into a lore video, but very briefly the facts are revealed that Romeo is Leah's apprentice, that Leah is known as the legendary stalker, at least in part because of her previous defeat of Arlecchino, for which he now holds a huge grudge, and as a result he has captured Romeo in order to force Leah into another battle. Just to give an example, here's a clip of one of the most impactful artifacts that you find along the way.
You took many things from me. Arms, legs, a sunny outlook on life. And then you drove nine blades through me.
There's more to it than that. It's like 4.5 minutes long, and it's an excellent performance by the voice actor, and it's just a small part of the tapestry that is slowly woven throughout the course of this DLC, through voice messages like that one, through conversations with NPCs, the gameplay itself, and of course, because it's a Souls-like, notes. Once you finally do catch up to Leah, the two of you together fight your way to the Rose Estate. This section is pretty cool, and I think really helps get the player invested in helping Leah on her mission even more. There's a whole bunch of other lore as to why the player character is motivated to help her that I don't want to get into right now, but I think this helps get the player invested as well.
Nothing will stop us. This is the end! Die!
This all culminates in this incredibly gruesome and emotional scene, in which we find Romeo's severed arms hanging from an artistic display that Arlecchino has left for Leah to find. Honestly, my only complaint about the storytelling here is that instead of heading directly into the battle with Arlecchino after this cutscene, the game makes you do a bunch of monster fighting first, all while the emotional music continues to play. I feel like the cutscene really gets the player fired up to go after him, but that enthusiasm wanes a bit as you fight your way through about 20 minutes of old repeat enemies. Okay, that's enough of the story. Sorry, I really didn't mean to spend 3 minutes on that, but at any rate, my point is that by the time you get here, you know exactly who you're fighting and why. And furthermore, you yourself, the player, might find yourself really invested in defeating him, which is a pretty unique trait for Souls games. You have the option of teaming up with Leah for this fight. I do recommend doing this at least once, because you get to enjoy some pretty epic animations like this one.
I won't lose anyone else! No, Romeo!
And even more so, this one. Cool. Unlike the two-faced Overseer, which also had a lore summon, this fight is definitely not a pushover even with Leah's assistance. So don't feel like you're going to be skipping the fight altogether by choosing to utilize her. You can always come back and do the fight again in the boss rematch mode, which I also recommend doing to experience the true brutality of this boss.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. Romeo's on the clock, and you appear to be nothing but talk.
Let's get into the moveset. In Phase 1, Arlecchino is extremely aggressive, unleashing a constant barrage of attacks with weapons in both hands. He has a lot of variety in these attacks. There are very small sections where you can predict the rhythm, but he's constantly mixing and matching those pieces together, forcing you to really pay close attention to the animations to get the parry timings right. Because there are so many attacks coming your way, you're in a high-risk, high-reward situation with parries. If you get a large percentage of them right, you build up stagger on the boss, and then get free damage later with a critical attack. But if you miss too many of them, you're dead. Or if you're not dead, you're out of healing, and your weapon is out of durability.
A human is only truly honest when their life is on the line. Wouldn't you agree?
One unique feature during this phase is that there are moments where Arlecchino will attempt to punish you for healing, heightening the high-risk, high-reward nature of this phase. When you heal, his eyes turn red and he lunges at you. It's hard to describe exactly when he will and won't do this heal punish, but either way, if you have a little bit of distance from him when he does it, if you just hold the parry button after healing, the parry timing actually works out perfectly. Other than that, Phase 1 is as simple as it is brutal. Learn the short sequences, pay close attention to which one he's starting, and execute. Easy, right?
Time to exit my stage.
Then comes the Phase 2 transition. Oh boy, this is, without a doubt, my least favorite part of this boss. It is a scripted sequence, so you can memorize it, but to even see it, to get another memorization rep in, you have to get through the very difficult Phase 1. And on top of that, it's just so long. I'm gonna let it play unedited here from beginning to end.
Ladies and gentlemen, I, Arlecchino, will analyze the only medium that moves the human soul.
Just wow. 25 hits over the course of 24 seconds or so, that is wild. If you're a savvy observer, you will notice that I gave up on memorizing this and just used the Perfect Guard grindstone instead. Maybe someday I'll try without it, but this encounter was already hard enough without this nonsense. The kicker is that this sequence is so long, you actually have to delay when you apply the Perfect Guard grindstone pretty late, so that it lasts all the way till the end. The only thing keeping this decision from being completely unhinged is the fact that the Perfect Guard grindstone is available, but even then I'm not sure they actually intended for you to use it, because in order to obtain the Perfect Guard grindstone, you have to advance beyond where you enter the DLC. You can enter the DLC after completing Chapter 9, but you have to advance a little bit further after you defeat the second Black Rabbit Brotherhood encounter to get the third Veniti collection box, which then makes the Perfect Guard grindstone available for sale. Anyway, the point is that this phase transition is dumb and I don't like it.
You really think you can win?
Moving on. In Phase 2 itself, Arlecchino becomes much less aggressive. It's actually quite refreshing, since I feel like, especially in this game, the developers feel the need to ramp up the intensity as the boss phases progress. But I think this change in tone is actually great for this boss. While he becomes less aggressive, his attacks feel weightier and much more varied and dynamic than Phase 1. Where in Phase 1 he just attacked you with his two weapons a whole bunch. In this phase he has these big flaming Wolverine claws, circular saws coming out of his back, these huge lightsabers or something. He can leave a barrage of saws on the ground that then chase you. He's also got this unique grab animation.
Why are you different? Time to exit my stage.
Actually make that two unique grab animations. Oh, and by the way, he can also just launch into that 25 hit, 24 second phase transition sequence again, which, as we discussed at length, I'm not crazy about. But everything else about Phase 2 is quite fun. In terms of difficulty, Arlecchino has to take a spot in my top tier. Clear your schedule. Comparisons have been made to Promised Consort Radahn and Melania from Elden Ring, and even to Sword Saint Ishin from Sekiro. And it did take me a similar amount of time to beat Arlecchino as it did those three, so those comparisons aren't far off. But difficulty alone does not a good boss make. In fact, the more difficult a boss is, the more important it is that it is fair and fun. Because if they're going to ask you to spend a bunch of time repeating a boss, it better be fun to spend your time doing that. Arlecchino achieves that for the most part. Most of his attacks are fun to engage with, and his personality really shines throughout this encounter.
While it lasted.
But the Phase 2 transition really drags him down for me, compounded by the fact that he can pull that move out again during Phase 2. Still, what points he loses there, he perhaps regains for me in, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the storytelling. Imagine that. A Souls-like game telling a coherent story where not only do I know what's going on, but I'm actively invested in the characters, and Arlecchino is at the center of it all. He's a great villain whose quips and comments throughout the fight help keep it interesting, even with all the repetition you'll have to do on it. With all that said, that comes out to be a 9 out of 10 for me.